DJ, pana leta mchanganyiko. Nataka lero lero ni lero, lero lero ni lero.
Is United Progressive Alliance, UPA, United Progressive Alliance.
We are missing you on this side.
That's not. No.
What is it?
Yes, come to this issue.
No, Baba has
Okay.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the press, welcome to Azimio Center. This afternoon we have a statement on the situation in Mount Kenya region, which is going to be read by Her Excellency, Madam Martha Karua. We have got several political parties present here today, including NARC Kenya. We have also the Jubilee Party. We have got OPA Party. We have also got Usawa Party represented here. And of course we have got DAP and Roots and Reform Party of Kenya and ODM, of course. But all this is part of the Azimio coalition. So the statement is going to be read, as I've said, by Madam Martha Karua. Karibu, Madam.
Thank you. Here is the statement. Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Coalition Party, has held a meeting to reflect on what is clearly becoming the policy of the Kenya Kwanza regime to profile Mount Kenya region for political and economic domination. The meeting took note of the desire of the people of Mount Kenya to have a healthy political environment like other Kenyans. Unfortunately, this desire is being thwarted by the KK regime, and it must stop. Whereas the Constitution under Article 37 gives the people of Kenya the right to peacefully assemble, demonstrate, picket, and present petitions to public authorities, the actions of this illegitimate regime indicate a determination to deny the same to the people of Mount Kenya. We saw this during the questioning of Minor Jenga at the DCI on the 25th of May this year, and the subsequent court appearance in Nakuru, Miners' treatment laid bare the determination of the regime to weaponize state agencies to harass and intimidate Mount Kenya leaders. We are seeing the profiling of Mount Kenya youth as Mungiki, which amounts to an attempt by the regime to create an artificial crisis to justify violence against innocent youth from the mountain. It is our position that profiling of Mount Kenya youth will not solve the problems facing this regime. It will only derail the healing process. It will equally not help the Mount Kenya youth overcome the many challenges driving them into despair. We must remind the people of Kenya the violence that was meted out on Kenyans, and particularly the Kikuyu nation, in 1992, 1997, and 2007-2008, which was started and sustained by senior government officials, some of whom are serving in this illegitimate regime. Those who faced ICC charges over the 2007-2008 violence must be reminded that killing witnesses will not make them become exonerated of those crimes. Further, we wish to remind the people of Mount Kenya that the attempt to target, isolate, and finish established leaders and political parties of the region has happened before with grim consequences. Those who are old enough when power changed hands in 1978 will recall that Kikuyu leaders and their businesses and those in the public sector became immediate targets. The community witnessed a massive effort to cut down and humiliate its leaders, like the late James Gishuru, Njoroge Mungai, Bio Koinange, Waroro Kanja, Bernard Hinga, who was a commissioner of police, and Mwai Kibaki. Immediately, Jomo Kenyatta left the stage. Mwai Kibaki was to later become the most transformational leader the nation has ever known. He was seriously undermined and humiliated. The government claimed to be conducting surveillance of subversive activities and that its agents had infiltrated the organizations responsible for the same. This claim, like today's claim about the resurgence of Mungiki, is but an excuse to start harassing and suppressing any political activity or reorganization in the mountain region. Then as now, the state-sponsored political attack dogs to ensure that Kikuyu leaders who could command national constituency, like Kibaki did at the time, did not rise. That plan has started again with this illegitimate regime. As the regime targets the region's youth and leaders, it has also trained its eyes in taking over or destroying political parties associated with the region. The invasion of the Jubilee Party must be seen in this light. It is an attempt to cripple Mount Kenya leadership and create a crisis of governance of political parties in the region. The verification of our Azimio chairman, His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, is also part of this evil scheme to subdue a whole community and region. This is totally unnecessary. Chinua Achebe once said, remarked, when did the rain start beating us? And we are asking, when did the rain start beating the mountain region. It is apparent that the destabilization of Jubilee Party and the destruction of established political leaders of the region is a do-or-die agenda for the KK regime, sponsored by the highest level of the Kenya Kwanza leadership to ensure that Mount Kenya region has no serious political party to challenge anti-Mount Kenya policies that appear to be driving the decisions of this regime. Many of the tax measures contained in the finance bill currently before Parliament are unreasonable and clearly directed not only at the nation but particularly at Mount Kenya businesses. The proposed turnover tax is basically a tax on assets whose primary objective is to impoverish the mamambogas, boda-bodas, and other vulnerable Kenyans struggling to make a living in these difficult economic circumstances. The majority of these businesses, small businesses, are owned largely by men and women of the mountain region. I will invite my colleague, Honorable Kioni, to read the conclusion.
In light of the above, we state as follows. Kenya Kwanza regime must stop profiling Mount Kenya youth as Mogeki or Walefi. We call on critical institutions, among them the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, IPOA, Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, and the National Cohesion and Integration Commission to investigate the conduct of police at DCI offices and raids on minor Jenga's homes and the statements by government officials on the so-called resurgence of Mogeki sect. Any attempts to profile and vilify the community or to claw back gains made will be resisted very strongly. We will resist KK regime economic policies that are designed to oppress, deprive, or curtail economic opportunities of any of the communities that make up the state known as Kenya. Many of you might recall that back in the 80s and before, we had the cooperative movement. It was the first line of attack by the Moi regime. Many from Mount Kenya went under. We now can see another onslaught on the chamas, the merry-go-rounds, another onslaught on those groupings that are quite predominant within Mount Kenya. We will continue monitoring, documenting, and responding to emerging policy and human rights abuses affecting Mount Kenya region and any acts that are outside the rule of law. Kenya Kwanza regime, in its evil design to impoverish the poor people of Mount Kenya, must be reminded that it is not possible to legislate the poor into prosperity by registrating the wealthy out of prosperity. We demand the immediate withdrawal of the Finance Bill 2023 in its entirety. The unwarranted and uncalled for attacks on His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, the Azimio chairman, must stop. We have said there before, and we want to repeat again, to some of those elected or holding elective positions within Mount Kenya, that in the past we have witnessed the reign of buffoons within Mount Kenya, and especially immediately after the death of President Jomo Kenyatta. We shall not allow this same behavior again within Mount Kenya. Mount Kenya is not available for auction. You need to look around for something else to sell. And all forms of political mobilization will be done to counter the reemergence of these buffoons and our right of association must be respected across. Remember, Pastor Mackenzie is not being investigated for belonging to the Christian faith, but for what he did, the criminal acts. Our rights of association, our right of association must be respected. I thank you. May I invite Governor Iria to have a few comments.
Thank you very much. We are here because we are concerned and worried about our community. So, and you can see we are with other communities, but there is a concern on what's happening within the community of Kikuyus. And some of us have stood our ground, and you've said that we have to speak out because we can clearly look into the past, we can analyze the recent past, and we can project the planned future. As a community, this is a community which 8 months ago was being celebrated as a central cog for Kenya Kwanza. Our youths were being glorified as the mighty hustlers, and our youths were moving aloud in waves, and the wave resorted to the government that is said to be in place. Our worry is how such celebrated youths can within 6 months turn into thugs. How can hustlers transform from being hustlers within a space of about 6 months into being gangsters, into being mandalers, into being mungekis, into being drunkards, into being any other objective which can define them in the negative? That is a question which some of us are asking ourselves, and our leaders, our Kikuyu leaders, are just clapping as we are being demonized. If we don't speak for our youth, then we are condemning our future. Our youth are being targeted because of the future of Kikuyus as a community. The question which comes through is, where has this subject of Mungiki come from? Because no incident has been observed, and you media people have been with us in this nation. What has happened in the last 6 months to justify the statement and the proposition that there is the emergence of Mungiki? We want to be told of one singular event in one small village within central Kenya, the broader Mount Kenya, which has prompted this debate. Because we belong here, you belong here, we have not had anything, but all it has, suddenly the government, specifically Viruga Chagwa, has announced that there is reemergence of Mungiki. Where has that come from? If it's not a plot to blood, to profile our youth. Gachagua need to realize one thing. This nation owes a debt to Kikuyus for the blood which was shed in the Rift Valley. We lost people, human beings, Kikuyus known by name, working people were buried. They also owe us a debt in the name of our youth who are massacred in between 2004 and 2009. They were killed, and we have information they were even being buried by policemen under the name, under the blooding of Mungiki. Which is that offense which made our people be killed? Is it an offense which was supposed to be judged outside the court system? We have a list of people, young men who went missing, and some people seem to be celebrating that today. Between 2004 and 2009, our youth were killed under the guise of Mungiki, and Gachagua said it very clearly that it it will happen the way it happened then. That is a threat to our youth. It means that our youth are supposed to be killed. And before they kill, before any drop of blood is spilled in Mount Kenya again, we must be compensated for the blood which we have already lost. It is dear enough, and enough is enough, and no one is going to spill any blood from any of our youngsters, whatever their mistakes, when we are alive. And I want to repeat once more, we are going to take census of the young men that we have lost. Nearly every family in Mount Kenya has a record of a lost son, of a lost daughter, and some funny blooding. We first of all need to be compensated for that before they kill others. I don't know the cost of a son because there is no cost. Losing a son, a Kikuyu son, is priceless. And someone can stand and tell the nation that our youth need to be warned that they face what they faced. We are telling him, come on. We are now mature enough. Some of us, we are grown-ups. When they did that, some of us were fairly young. We are now the fathers, the mothers of this community. And if we don't speak out, I don't know who else is meant to speak for us. We cannot expose our sons and daughters. Those who are being called, they are being called hawkers. Those who are being called hustlers. Those who are being called vijana wa mikokoteni. They are now drunkards and they are now mungiki. We want to tell them, it doesn't matter. None of our sons, our daughters is going to serve a death sentence under whoever's rule. And we want to tell our child very clearly, Kenny, I have to finish. I'm speaking now from the community. And what I'm saying, I will not say tomorrow. Now, sasa the flow. But I want to repeat once more that we are serious. You may think I'm taking time, but I'm talking about our children. If I'm talking about somebody's children, then I am supposed to be stopped. I'm talking about our sons and daughters. And we want to say that whoever is bringing that debate need to kill that debate with immediate effect. That is not a debate which was in this region. Wherever it has come from, Gachagua need to take that debate wherever he took it from. Because we don't want to entertain such a debate in this region, and we want to assure our sons and daughters that we have leaders in Mount Kenya who are not going to be compromised, and we shall ensure their security and safety. If one makes a mistake, we have rule of law. If you are a thief goes through a particular legal process, judicial process. Kama umetukanana, but you cannot condemn our youth, put them in a basket, and you say that our youths are mungiki. We are giving a warning against profiling Kikuyu as a community and Kikuyu youths in particular.
A compressed statement from Karo Irungu, Deputy Governor Nyeri Wantai.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mine will be very brief. I think as leaders of Mount Kenya, we are here to call out this illegitimate government in what we are seeing initially to be dictatorial tendencies. We saw and we are seeing how they are continuing to speak. We want to call out this government on especially the finance bill. If you look at the finance bill, for a government that has been saying they have women at the core of their government, you look at clause 17, what our vice captain has said, women groups will now be considered as businesses, attracting a 30% tax. And the story of Mount Kenya, especially those of us who have grown up in Mount Kenya, is that as our fathers were working, our mothers are very involved in chamas and in merry-go-rounds. And they really support the family unit. In fact, if you look at the data in the Ministry of Gender, the Mount Kenya region ranks highest in uptake of the Women Enterprise Fund and the lowest in loan delinquency. And therefore, when you begin to look at this, women in the villages as whatever activity they're taking on as business activities, essentially what you're doing is killing that sector. As Mount Kenya leaders, we're also very aware that this regime would like to kill our small businesses. If you go through the finance bill, once again, if you sell chai and mandazi, those small vibandas that we have in the village, and you only sell 1,300 shillings a day, those are 10, 12 cups of tea and mandazi in the village, you will now be paying to this government about 15,000 shillings a year. So ideally, we see a regime that is out to kill our Mount Kenya businesses, that is going for women, I mean, in very mundane and desperate things like trying to charge wigs and weaves and very small desperate measures. Most of those businesses that sell those wigs and do those beauty activity are owned and run by women. So as women of Mount Kenya, we are seeing a regime that is out to cut our businesses, that is out to hurt our activities as women, and therefore we want to call them out at these very early opportunities to tell them we will not stop to say that, and we will not be intimidated to say that for an illegitimate regime, I think you have a lot of guts to do what you're doing. I thank you very much.
Governor Derito.
Thank you very much. Let me say to you a bit in Kikuyu. You know, hiti dereaga mwana, okay? No egenda kuria mwana yajagia kuga mwana ucio hiana mburi. Okay? So in our region there, the hyena does not eat its own child. But when the hyena is tempted to eat its own child, it begins to say that this child is smelling like a goat. There can be no doubt in your minds the reason our young people are being branded mungeke, the reason they are being branded as drunkards is because there is some ill intent on them. And that intention, my colleague Karogo has explained to you, including the little that they earn. So a young person who is doing digital creation, that maybe they are making a website for you, or they are making some promotion on TikTok or Instagram or something like this, will now be paying withholding tax, not at the normal rate of 5%, which others pay as professionals, but these young people will now, if this bill were to be passed, will be paying 15%, 3 times what other professionals do. It must be clear, certainly to all of us, that young people in Mount Kenya are being targeted very, very specifically, both economically and profiled, so that perhaps extrajudicial killings can now resurface. And we want to say to the entire world, and we hope you as communicators help us to tell the whole world, watch out. Honorable Muthahi, karibu.
Thank you very much. Let me also join my colleagues and the leaders to also emphasize on the point that I have made about the youth in Mount Kenya. And I want to particularly speak to those youth. That yes, you youth, you are very good. Yes, you said you wake up to go and support a government that you thought was taking you to prosperity. But today, 8 months later, you are now being branded all manner of words. That you are not useful to that government cannot be gainsaid, because it means the government was only using you to get to power. And once they get that power, you then become useless. But I also quickly ask, what is this that they know that they don't need the youth in future? There must be a grand plan And that grand plan is plan for their basket of votes as they finish our youth. It is time for us, you youth who belong to this community, to stand up to be counted. Say no to this repressive regime. Secondly, let me speak to the members of parliament, because I was there and I'm former member of parliament for Limuru. And I'm known for having taken a motion in parliament when it was first put on a camera, talking about how our youth were being killed. And I know I received threats then from some people, I don't know whether they were police, saying that I was the next in line. If talking about the youth now will put me next in line, I'm ready. Our members of parliament, speak up for those youth. Our members of parliament, stand by those who voted for you. I had talk yesterday, word yesterday, that they are waiting to be shown the way to vote about the finance bill. And I hasten to add, you decide who among the ones who are telling you to vote for it, yes, and those who on the ground are telling you, maisha ni ngumu, musipige yes, tunyanyaswe. Decide who voted for you. Then you can vote the way you'll vote. But Thursday is the defining moment for you, member of parliament, who wants to put a huge baggage on the people who elected you. And all of us who are out here, including those who are electing or who elected the members, should take up upon ourselves to deal with them once they pass that bill. Yes, I thank you.
The party leader, Roots, Professor Wajakoya.
Baba, Honorable Martha Karua, and other party leaders, for me, I'm going to look at this issue in a very critical way, because I've been very much involved in the Mungiki issue. I remember in 1997, when I was practicing law in UK, the issue of Mungiki became very apparent, which informed us to find out what we were going to do with that brutal regime of President Moi, when he wanted to castrate all young Kikuyu males of the ages of 13 and 19. When he circled them and killed many of them, and many of them were thrown in Karura Forest, many of them were thrown in Gong Forest. In addition to that, and you'll allow me to speak because I have a very strong history with the Mungiki issue as somebody who led the UN to come into this country. At the same time, Moi was vilifying the young Kikuyu male. He also vilified the Kikuyu women, female, young kids. So I called Koigi Wamwere, who is still alive and who can verify this story. I invited him to come to London with the young Kikuyu males that had come in running away for asylum, and at that particular time, they had been denied asylum. So we had to lobby Kenneth Baker, who was the Prime Minister at that particular time. We had also to lobby Tony Blair and Lord Steele, a great friend of Raila Amolo Odinga. By that time, he was Steele of the Liberal Democrats. We went ahead and also included the Scottish National Party and also other political parties to look into the issue of thematic assassinations and killings of the Kikuyu male, of the Kikuyu young male, and depopulating their women. And this history that we are writing down. As a result of that, we lobbied the United Nations Human Rights Commission, of which they sent our special rapporteur, Professor Philip Sons, who came on a fact-finding mission in this country, and then he found out, what he found out was very appalling. He made his report to the United Nations in New York, and then the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees in Switzerland came up with guidelines on how to treat asylum seekers from this nation, especially of the Kikuyu origin. And that's why we heard for the first time lots of them being given asylum in the UK. I went ahead and joined the then president of Ghana, jail rollings, whom we convinced to ship out some of these Mungiki leaders. As a result of that, many of them were shipped to Mozambique, one of them being Ndunge Wariungi, who was shipped out with a Portuguese passport. You can find that out from him. And because of thematic and systematic killings, our lives were put in danger, save for James Orengo and Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, who is sitting here, who came in London, made many trips in London to console with us, with those particular families that they had lost their siblings. I hold the former president accountable for the thematic elimination of the Kikuyu community, something that Gachagua is now repeating. And let me assure you that we are appealing to the British government not on cameras. I am appealing to the British government not on cameras, but we know what you are going to do. To ban those who are involved from stepping foot in Britain and EU, to ban those who are spearheading these semantic and systematic killings of young Kikuyu men and women from setting foot in Britain, in USA. And I can assure you that when I say it, I mean it. And I know what I'm talking about. And with Baba being here, and the other lawyers being here, and other leaders being here, I can assure you for free that we, having been outside the country, knowing the history of what the Kikuyus did for this country, of what the Kikuyus have done in the entire world, of what the Kikuyus have done to open up the economic development of this country, of how much money is brought in this country through Kenyans in the diaspora, many of them who originated from Mungiki, many of them who remained outside, many of them who suffered, and thank God they have settled in UK, they have settled in the United States, and they are bringing money in the country to improve the economy of this country. Yet some MFs are now taking advantage of political ramifications to kill them. Gachagua is just a small man. You may have the barrel of the gun. You may have all the powers. You may have all the police. But when the day of reckoning comes, you'll be alone. We have seen other leaders who are here before, who are used to doing that. Biot being one of them. Where is Biot today? Dead and buried 6 feet under the grave. What about people like those ones you know from Mount Kenya? When you take power and power corrupts you and you start eliminating people, you start eliminating people, you start cleansing people, you start ethnicization of one community. How do you think Kenyans are feeling about it? How do you think people in Uganda are feeling about it? How do you think the world is looking you at? Kenya was very peaceful until recently when madness came in after stealing the elections. You want us now to come and work with you? Oh, Professor Wajakoya can just be brought. And for those who are being brought, we know them. Time of reckoning will come. We are here to appeal to this government to leave Maina Njenga alone. Leave Maina Njenga alone, because you are just making a mole out of a mountain. Maina Njenga has played his role. Maina Njenga has paid for his whatever. Why would you just take one man, shoot his wives, kill them, shoot at him, and then now you want to disperse those young men? They're hungry. When you see a lion, don't think it is a lion when you can put your finger in its mouth. Gachagua has just put his mouth, he has just put his finger in young men who are hungry, making Kikuyus to fight Kikuyus. How do you think other tribes in this country are feeling like? How do you think the Luos are looking at them? What about the Luyas and the Masais? Oh, Kikuyus sasa wameanza kupigana wenyewe kwa wenyewe. Kikuyus are very peaceful people. I have a daughter from that community. I have friends from that community. In the police have been promoted by people from that community. In the last general election, I was financially supported by people from that community. Please give me time. Please. I'm angry. Give me time, because this is something which is going right inside my soul. We cannot allow this. We shall never allow this. And for you who are here, who are related to members of the Kikuyu community, how do you feel when one man who is using taxes belonging to the Kenyan people, who wants to eliminate the entire society, you kill one Kikuyu, 10 are born every day. Moi tried that. Kill 5, 100 are born. These are like the Jewish people. You cannot eliminate. Muzungus tried and they failed. Thank you very much.
I'm sure we will hear from the DAP party leader, Mheshimiwa Waziri wa Marwa. Yake si mrefu sana. You call back.
Asante sana. Kabla tujaleta kinara wetu, baba aweze kuzungumzia hili jambo. Wahenga walisema mbiu ya mgambo ikilia kuna jambo. Na leo tumesikia mbiu ya mgambo ikilia mlima Kenya. Kwa hivyo kuna jambo. Nataka nishukuru sana viongozi wenzangu kutoka mlima Kenya ambao wamezungumza hapa. Kwetu wanasema ukificha mgonjwa ama ugonjwa utasikia vilio. Nataka niwashukuru sababu wamekuja kusema kuna shida mlima Kenya. And it's not a secret that the Kenya Kwanza regime came to power through a pack of lies. And in fact, the 8 months we have seen of the Kenya Kwanza regime is a boulevard of broken promises and broken dreams by many Kenyans, including our brothers and sisters from Mount Kenya region. It's not a secret that this illegitimate regime is losing support of the mountain day by day, and they're aware of it. And what they're planning to do, Chinua Achebe once said, when you see a toad jumping in broad daylight, there is something after its life. When you see someone who is supposed to be a president of a country and a symbol of national unity threatening members of parliament, someone who is supposed to be a deputy president threatening members of parliament and literally blackmailing members of parliament that if you do not do this, you will not get roads or you will not get development in your regions. There is something terribly wrong with what Bwana RUTO na Bwana Gachagua wamesema jana kutoa vitisho kwa wabunge wetu. But we also know that out there in the mountain, because they are aware they have lost support, they are preparing to use very strong-arm tactics. And we are talking about a repressive regime that intends to mute the rebellion that is building in the mountain. And how will they do that? They say you give a dog a bad name and you hang it. As they are losing the support of majority of the young people, the borders, the mamambogas, the threat in the mountain is going to be like the days of Nyayo, the days of Kenya. All they needed to do is brand you a Kenya and plant something on you, and you'll be arrested. In the mountain, before open dissent is seen, they intend to use the word mungiki. Brand any young person who might be rebelling against this regime, including the border, who are feeling the weight of the high cost of petrol. And today they are no longer singing about the hustler who pretended to be one of them and has now abandoned that mamamboga who was on the headlines today. We want to thank you, the media, for calling out William Ruto and his lies and for exposing the big lie that was using the mamambogas and the borders and the hustlers to get to power and then forgetting about them. So we want to say this issue of Mungiki is not a Kikuyu issue. It is not a Mount Kenya issue. This is a national issue. It's a Kenyan issue. And we are here to stand in solidarity with the Mount Kenya leadership to say no to the Kenya Kwanza regime and their nefarious scheme of branding the Kikuyu youth Mungiki, of using the Mungiki name to bring repression in the mountain to forestall an open rebellion that is coming. That is what we want to say, and wish to now call our leader to come and address the nation on this matter of vital national importance. Your Excellency, Raila Amolo Odinga.
Thank you. Today was a day for the leadership from Central Kenya, the Mount Kenya region, to address an issue of extreme national importance. They say that the more things change, the more they remain the same. I have had occasion to talk about isolation and vilification of the people of the mountain region. And I remember in our days of the youth, during the struggle for independence, the Mama War, there was all the times an announcement in the radio that the Kikuyu, the Meru na Embu ni watu hatari. Ukiona mmoja akipita, piga ripoti kwa polisi mara moja. That was an announcement which was used to be made on the radio all the times to try to isolate the people from Mount Kenya who are fighting for their land which had been grabbed by the colonialists. These were Kenyan patriots who fought and paid a very heavy price for liberation of this country. Now it is so unfortunate that in this time and age, Kenya has now celebrated the 60th year of its independence, that somebody should try to use the very same tactics and methods that were used by the British to try to isolate the youth from this region. There is now an attempt to artificially re-establish Mungiki movement. And I've seen it happen in my own eyes. It's Maina Njenga, merely because he accompanied me to the funeral of our matriarch, Mukamu Kimathi, has since been vilified, been harassed. They have carried out searches, all his residences in Nyandarua, in Laikipia, in Nakuru, in Nairobi, planting even some kind of evidence. Somehow they've carried bang, at the times they're carrying guns and so on, to try to vilify him and find an excuse to arrest him and to detain him. The young youth who are themselves incensed by this harassment are now being classified as Mungiki. But you have also seen Mr. Gachagua run around all Central Province talking about alcoholism among the youth, drugs and delinquency, and urging the chiefs and the police and the administration generally to deal firmly with this youth. Now the youth have nothing else to do. The youth are idle, and that's the reason why they resort to alcoholism. The answer to this is to provide the jobs for this youth. If the youth get something to do meaningfully, they will not be drinking. But they're getting into alcoholism because of lack of anything meaningful to do. You will remember, we had brought a program when we were in government to try to put money into the pocket of this youth. Even the last regime had a program called Kazi Mutahani. Kazi Mutahani actually meaningfully engaged this youth. These people had said that they were going to get this youth engaged in tree planting and so on. They have not done anything. We used to have them cleaning the streets, garbage collection, and helping the community generally. And the youth were happy. They were not drinking. So, Mr. Gachagua, I free advise you, don't vilify these youths. Give them something meaningful to do. Second, Mr. Gachagua, you have been bragging all along that you are the sons of Mau Mau. You and your other counterpart called Kimani Ichung'wah. I want to challenge you today, Mr. Gachagua, to tell Kenyans your relationship with our Chief Nderi Gachagua Wang'ombe, who was assassinated by the Mau Mau in 1953 because of his collaboration with the brutal colonial regime. That Gachagua came from Madeira. So I want you to come clean and tell the Kenyans what is your relationship with that Nderi Gachagua Wang'ombe, the collaborator, so that people can then understand. And tell us also, if your father was a Mau Mau, what was his service number in the Mau Mau movement? The same thing with Kimani Ichung'wah. We have said, and I just want to underscore what these leaders from Central Province have said. They have said that they will not tolerate this, and we want to speak on behalf of other Kenyans, that we are fully in solidarity with what they have said. We will stand strongly in solidarity with our people, friends, brothers and sisters from the Central Province. Central Province is very much part and parcel of Kenya, and we will make all the contribution needed to protect these people against harassment by this illegitimate regime. Thank you. Yes.
Jina langu ni Joel Chacha kutoka runinga ya K24 TV, na hapo kesho vuguvugu la 66 litakuwa linaandamana dhidi ya mswada wa fedha mwaka 2023, Finance Bill 2023, na kumekuwa na matumaini haswa licha ya Azimio kuzungumzia tu swala hili, vile vile labda mjitokeze katika streets za hapa Nairobi kuandamana haswa kuzuia Finance Bill kupita. Je, msimamo wenu kama Azimio ikizingatiwa vile vile ulikuwa umesema hivi leo utatangaza mwelekeo wa wale ambao wana bila shaka fuatilia sera zako, labda uweze kueleza haswa mtafanya nini kushinikiza serikali ya Kenya Kwanza ambayo mmesema haisikii maoni yoyote ila maandamano peke yake?
Shukrani sana. Kwanza, kabla sijajibu hiyo swali lako ya mambo ya ile mswada ya fedha, ningependa kukariri kwa muktasari yale ambayo mimi nisema kwa kimombo. Ati sisi kama Azimio la Kenya tunapinga vikali sana ile njama ya kujaribu kunyanyasa vijana wa mkoa wa Kati katika taifa letu. Tumeona njama ikifanywa kujaribu kufanya watu hawa ni watu ni wahalifu, ati ni mungiki na kadhalika. Wengine wanashikwa, kwa mfano Mheshimiwa Maina Njenga amefuatwa kila mara kwa mara tangu wakati ile mwingine ambaye yeye mwenyewe aliandamana na mimi kwenda kwa mazishi ya marehemu Mkami Kimathi. Kila amefuatwa, wamefanya msako kwa nyumba vyake kule upande wa Nyandarua, upande wa Laikipia, Nakuru na hata hapa Nairobi. Na ameshikwa, mapelekwa kule mahakamani Nakuru, baadaye yakaletwa hapa kwa kikao kikuu cha DCI, baadaye akarudishwa tena kule mahakamani akishindikizwa na mawakili wetu huko. Kitu ya ajabu ni kwamba yule mahakama alipokuwa anatoa uamuzi wake, anasema ati bwana Njenga amepigwa marufuku kuongea au kufanya mambo yoyote ambaye hakuna mtu ambaye aliomba yeye juu ya mambo haya. Kwa hivyo yeye mwenyewe anaonyesha kwamba kuna njama, na kwa upande mwingine hata mahakama inasurutishwa na hii serikali kufanya uamuzi kinyume na sheria. Tumesema sisi tutazimama imara nyuma ya wenzetu wa kutoka mkoa wa Kati. Vile vile nimesema bwana Gachagua amekuwa akijigamba kila mara kwa mara ati yeye ni mtoto wa Mau. Yeye na bwana Kimani Ichung'wah. Nimesema atueleze kinagaubaga uhusiano wake na yule chief Nderi Gachagua wa Ng'ombe ambaye aliuawa na Mau mwaka wa 1953 kwa sababu yeye mwenyewe alikuwa mshirika wa koloni, alikuwa anashiriki kunyanyasa wa Mau wakati yule. Na tukisema kama baba yake alikuwa Mau, atueleze nambari ya baba yake katika hiyo jeshi la Mau. Hata bwana Kamau Ichung'wah, tunataka kujua uhusiano wenu, kama baba yako alikuwa Mau, alikuwa anafanya wapi, alikuwa anashiriki kwa vita wapi, katika msitu gani? Sasa kwa mambo ya mswada ya fedha, sisi kama Azimio tutatoa msimamo wetu kamili siku ya Alhamisi. Siku ya Alhamisi tutatoa taarifa yetu kamili. Tutaeleza Wakenya kinagaubaga msimamo wetu, kwa nini sisi tunapinga hiyo mswada na ile hatua ambayo tunataka Wakenya wachukue. Hiyo mswada ikiletwa kule kwa vitisho na wakishurutisha bunge kupitisha hiyo mswada, lakini wabunge wetu wote tayari wameambiwa wapinge vikali hiyo mswada. Kama wewe ni mwanaazimio, pinga kabisa. Na wale wabunge ambao wataunga mkono hiyo mswada, nataka wale wapigaji kura wao waweke wao kwenye darubini, ili wajue kwamba wao ni wasaliti wa wananchi wa Kenya. Asanteni sana. Nimesutatoa taarifa.
Maybe just a quick one, just away from the finance bill. The worrying now in counties is lack of funds, and that the government has not released funds from February, some March. What do you think of the willingness of this government to support devolution? And number two, some political parties are complaining not to have received the political parties' funds. Has ODM received the funds, and what do you think is going forward in terms of the democracy in supporting the political parties?
About the funds, I'm told that there was a meeting today between governors and Mr. Gachagua. So I don't want to talk about, but all the times you have condemned the delay by the national government to remit funds to the county government. This government is actually trying to kill devolution, because if they're saying that they inherited an empty copper, you want to ask yourself, up to August last year, there were never any delays, and that regime of Uhuru Kenyatta was also collecting taxes from the people of Kenya, and they were able to pay at least the following month all the dues to the county government. What has happened since that time that we now have these serious problems? I think myself is that there is a deliberate effort to try to take over some of the functions which are being done by the county government. But also, everybody knows that corruption has shot up very exponentially since this regime came into power. So we have said ourselves that this regime is not up to what the Kenyans expect. And we are going to tell Kenyans what to do. I've been asked whenever I go, tangaza maandamano, tamaza maandamano. We are putting them on notice to tatangaza. Thank you. Mama Mboga, watu wa mjengo, can turn his back so soon on the same people. The tsunami of taxes in that bill will bury everyone, especially the jobless youth and the poor struggling down at the bottom. The bill is a promissory note to strangle and suffocate the hustlers from whose necks RUTO promised to remove the rope. We wish to make it clear from the outset that as a party, we will try our best to ensure that this anti-people budget is not passed by the National Assembly. In the event that Kenya Kwanza uses its hired majority and passes the bill as it is, we want the people of Kenya to understand that it is Kenya Kwanza's bill. It is the Kenya Kwanza's budget. It will be a Kenya Kwanza strangling Kenyans. We will instruct our members of parliament to have nothing to do with it. The mischief is hidden everywhere across the bill, but we will highlight a few. 1, turnover tax. Currently, turnover tax, that is, tax based on sales, is applicable on sales worth 1 million Kenya shillings and above, and it stands at 1%. Now, Kenya Kwanza wants this tax applied on sales from as low as 500,000 Kenya shillings. The tax is being raised from 1% to 3%. The taxation will be pegged on gross sales, whether the seller makes profit or not. The biggest casualties here will be small, medium, and medium-sized businesses. Those businesses are the heart of the hustler nation. They are struggling. The same businesses are already being taxed by counties. Our stand is that this tax should remain at 1% and should be applicable on sales of 1 million shillings and above. 2, income tax adjustment. About 4 things currently stand out in a payslip of a typical employee in Kenya, whether in the public or private sector. There has been no pay increase in the last 5 or more years. At least a quarter, sometimes up to half of the salary, is consumed by taxes. Much of the salary is consumed by all sorts of loans. Much of the salary goes into the funding dead institutions like NSSF and NHIF, which in the end do not serve the needs of the employee. Now, unilaterally, Kenya Kwanza wants to raise the taxes from the current 30% to 35% on those earning 500,000 shillings and above. Direct taxation as a means of raising money usually has unintended consequences. The shock will be felt down the chain. Typically, a single payslip supports entire villages and communities in Kenya. As Kenya Kwanza reduces availability of local disposable income, it is inadvertently reducing local demand for goods and services. It leads to more unemployment and more desperation. We will be instructing our members of parliament to post this bill's proposals. 3, housing fund. Unilaterally, Kenya Kwanza wants to deduct 3% of basic salaries to finance affordable housing scheme. How the regime arrived at 3% and not 1 or 2, nobody knows. In an economy where employees are already faced with reduced income due to high cost of goods, we find the introduction of this new tax irrational. It further reduces the amount of disposable income available to the economy. We find it curious that while not everyone is qualified for the proposed affordable housing regime, everyone is expected to pay. This is illegal borrowing. According to the bill, those who do not qualify for affordable houses will have their monies refunded or transferred to the beneficiaries after 7 years. There is no mention of interest accrued on the money. You are borrowing money without paying interest. It is not clear why an employee who does not need a house would have his or her money tied up in a housing scheme when he or she would wish to spend it on farming or just feeding the family. There's also no guarantee that the housing scheme will work where schemes like NSSF and NHIF have been crippled by corruption. We need a review. 4, attack on digital economy. After being attacked through turnover tax, the youth who have tried to find themselves jobs by using their creative talents in the digital space are being targeted through digital content monetization. From paying zero tax currently, a creative youth who creates a digital platform or content will now be required to pay 15% tax. As a country, we will be killing innovation and leaving our youth with too few options, if any. We will not support this proposal. 5, tax appeals tribunal. A proposal is being made that in the event of a business or an individual who has a dispute with the Kenya Revenue Authority over tax owed, that individual or company will be required to deposit 20% of the disputed amount with the KRA before the matter can be heard by the tax appeals tribunal. This is another aspect of illegal borrowing by the regime. It is open to abuse by rogue KRA officers. It will affect cash flow of companies. We oppose it. 6, taxation of reimbursements, that is per diem. Out of the blues, Kenya Kwanza wants to tax money paid to officers on duty at 30%. How then do those officers meet their expenses? Since when did reimbursements get to be treated as income? We find this requirement extremely punitive. We oppose it. We've known that this per diem was being paid by people to be spent to defray expenses wherever they are traveling. And those costs, the cost of living in those countries already been worked out by the government. If you are taxing it, you are therefore subjecting these officers to suffering wherever they travel. 7, taxing trade associations. After taxing traders, Kenya Kwanza want to follow them and tax their associations. Associations whose duty is to fight for the welfare of members will now be deemed to be carrying out business and be taxed on gross receipts, which will be deemed as income. This is a double jeopardy that will affect the welfare of businesses in the country. We oppose it. 8, enhanced VAT payments. Buried in this bill are proposals to remove from zero rating to tax-exempt pharmaceutical products, agricultural pest products, and even fertilizers. Maize flour, cassava flour, and a number of other types of flours are being moved from zero rating. Transportation of sugarcane to factories will now attract VAT. The VAT measures proposed by the bill effectively raise the cost of medicines, healthcare, and food, including that of locally produced sugar. It goes against Kenya Kwanza's often stated pledge to subsidize production. We object. 9, enhanced excise duty on imported cement. Kenya Kwanza wants to raise duty on imported cement. It will be a signal for local producers to raise their prices. This will impact the local construction industry, which is currently the main driver for job creation in Kenya. 10, tax on beauty products. Kenya Kwanza wants to treat beauty as a luxury. Beauty products such as wigs, false beards, eyelashes, human hair, artificial nails, among others, will see their taxes rise from shillings 0.6 to shillings 25 per stamp, 2.5 per stamp. This is a 316% hike. Like digital economy, the beauty industry has become a major employer, particularly of our youth and women who have been unable to find work elsewhere. It is a home to hustlers. Now Kenya Kwanza is going after their earnings. We disagree. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenyans cannot be taxed to the bone just because of Kenya Kwanza's internal weaknesses. Rather than increase taxes, the regime must undertake the following. 1, an immediate stoppage of non-essential government expenditures, including the appointment of chief administrative officers. 2, reduction in size of government, excess cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries, directorates, advisors, aids, departments and castes are gobbling up finances for the no good value for money. 3, abolish money being spent on political operations that are disguised as relief food distribution or fundraisers. It makes no sense at all for a Kenya Kwanza operative to spend 20 million shillings on a chopper to distribute 1 million worth of food. It makes no sense for a principal secretary to spend 10 million shillings on a chopper to deliver 200,000 shillings at a fundraiser. This madness must stop in the interest of austerity. 4, domestic and international travel, conferences, workshops, and training must be reduced, and they should be held in the offices. Those who are working in Nairobi should hold their meetings in Nairobi, including members of parliament. Parliament has got enough offices, a facility for members, committees to meet. There's no need to transport members of parliament to go and meet in Mombasa. The same thing applies to members of the county assembly. 5, freeze ministerial out-of-station allowances, ministerial house allowances, and domestic allowances for cabinet and principal secretaries. 6, end corruption and theft of public funds. Kenyans can't and won't tighten their belts any further. They have had enough. Their next available course of action is to force Kenya Kwanza to tighten its belt or force it out. End of the statement. Thank you.
All right, my name is Emmanuel Tov from Kate.
Say that again.
Okay, my name is Emmanuel Tov from KTN News. Number one, Kenya Kwanza commands a sizable majority in both houses. How are you going to oppose this bill when it comes to the House? Number two, you suspended demonstrations to give way for negotiations and talks, and also giving a chance for an honest discussion. Is this honest from Kenya Kwanza that they are increasing taxes, and are you reconsidering going back to the streets for this?
One is, you're right, you said Kenya Kwanza has an artificial majority in parliament. Because as you know, when Kenyans voted, Azimio had a majority in both houses. However, Kenya Kwanza has proceeded to buy members of parliament without following the laid down procedures and the law to cross over to their side. The requirement is that if a member moves from the coalition or political party in which he was elected, that member is required to resign his position in parliament and seek a re-election through a by-election into the new outfit in which he has moved. This has not happened. And you've seen members of, for example, Jubilee, who are an Azimio coalition, go the other side. UDM was the first one to go. And now there's COOP, which is saying to have gone the other side. This is what we are talking about, corruption. Corruption in the political process, which is there. They are enjoying artificial majority in parliament. But we say that our members, those who are with the Azimio and who have got conscience, will oppose these proposals. We will oppose the proposals, and we hope that the genuine Kenya Kwanza members who also have got the interests of ordinary Kenyans at heart, some who still feel about the hustler which they used, will see the fallacy of trying to introduce these measures here and how these measures are going to hurt ordinary common men whom they say they are going to assist through a bottom-up approach. With regard to the talks, first, we acted in good faith to call off the demonstrations last Thursday because Kenya Kwanza had approached us and said that they were ready now for talks and that we are going to remove Mr. Kenan, whom they had put in as among one of their delegates. But we knew that the real reason why they were doing it is because they were expecting the visitors were coming into town. And they did not want demonstrations at that time. But we did act in good faith ourselves because they said they were serious. Duty on imported cement. It will be a signal for local producers to raise their prices. This will impact the local construction industry, which is currently the main driver for job creation in Kenya. 10, tax on beauty products. Kenya Kwanza wants to treat beauty as a luxury. Beauty products such as wigs, false beards, eyelashes, human hair, artificial nails, among others, will see their taxes rise from shillings 0.6 to shillings 25 per stamp, 2.5 per stamp. This is a 316% hike. Like digital economy, the beauty industry has become a major employer, particularly of our youth and women who have been unable to find work elsewhere. It is a home to hustlers. Now Kenya Kwanza is going after their earnings. We disagree. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenyans cannot be taxed to the bone just because of Kenya Kwanza's internal weaknesses. Rather than increase taxes, the regime must undertake the following. 1, an immediate stoppage of non-essential government expenditures, including the appointment of chief administrative officers. 2, reduction in size of government, excess cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries, directorates, advisors, aides, departments and casts are gobbling up finances for the no good value for money. 3, abolish money being spent on political operations that are disguised as relief food distribution or fundraisers. It makes no sense at all for a Kenya Kwanza operative to spend 20 million shillings on a chopper to distribute 1 million worth of food. It makes no sense for a principal secretary to spend 10 million shillings on a chopper to deliver 200,000 shillings at a fundraiser. This madness must stop in the interest of austerity. 4, domestic and international travel, conferences, workshops, and training must be reduced, and they should be held in the offices. Those who are working in Nairobi should hold their meetings in Nairobi, including members of parliament. Parliament has got enough offices, a facility for members, committees to meet. There's no need to transport members of parliament to go and meet in Mombasa. The same thing applies to members of the county assembly. 5, freeze ministerial out-of-station allowances, ministerial house allowances, and domestic allowances for cabinet and principal secretaries. 6, end corruption and theft of public funds. Kenyans can't and won't tighten their belts any further. They have had enough. Their next available course of action is to force Kenya Kwanza to tighten its belt or force it out. End of the statement. Thank you.
All right, my name is Emmanuel Toff from Kate.
Say that again.
Okay, my name is Emmanuel Toff from KTN News. Number one, Kenya Kwanza commands a sizable majority in both houses. How are you going to oppose this bill when it comes to the House? Number two, you suspended demonstrations to give way for negotiations and talks, and also giving chance for an honest discussion. Is this honest from Kenya Kwanza that they are increasing taxes, and are you reconsidering going back to the streets for this?
One is, you're right, you said Kenya Kwanza has an artificial majority in parliament. Because as you know, when Kenyans voted, Azimio had a majority in both houses. However, Kenya Kwanza has proceeded to buy members of parliament without following the laid down procedures and the law to cross over to their side. The requirement is that if a member moves from the coalition or political party in which he was elected, that member is required to resign his position in parliament and seek a re-election through a by-election into the new outfit in which he has moved. This has not happened. And you've seen members of, for example, Jubilee, who are an Azimio coalition, go on the other side. UDM was the first one to go. And now there's Scoop, which is saying to have gone the other side. This is what we are talking about, corruption. Corruption in the political process, which is there. They are enjoying artificial majority in parliament. But we say that our members, those who are with the Azimio and who have got conscience, will oppose these proposals. We will oppose the proposals, and we hope that the genuine Kenya Kwanza members, who also have got the interests of ordinary Kenyans at heart, some who still feel about the hustler which they used, will see the fallacy of trying to introduce these measures here and how these measures are going to hurt ordinary common man whom they say they are going to assist through a bottom-up approach. With regard to the talks, first, we acted in good faith to call off the demonstrations last Thursday because Kenya Kwanza had approached us and said that they were ready now for talks and that we are going to remove Mr. Kenan, whom they had put in as among one of their delegates. But we knew that the real reason why they were doing it is because they were expecting the visitors were coming into town. and they did not want demonstrations at that time. But we did actually in good faith ourselves because they said they were serious. Now we are seeing signs of reluctance. We're seeing signs of reluctance. Now all members of the other side are not available. They don't have a quorum to begin the discussions and so on. We have given them today and tomorrow. We have said that the talks must start in earnest on Wednesday. And if the delegation is not ready by Wednesday, we will treat that gentleman's agreement as cancelled. And we will then now explore other options available to us as Azimio.
Do you have any question?
My name is Joel Chacha from K24 TV. And the Kure Kimani-led Finance Committee has now invited the public for public participation and also submission of memorandum. That is the deadline is actually on 20th of May by 5 p.m. Are we likely to see also Azimio maybe submitting a memorandum on the same and as well urging its supporters to turn out and also participate in this particular process?
This press statement is itself already a notice to our members that we as Azimio are opposed to these proposals. And we are therefore urging all our people, members of the public, to participate and express their views.
Tumesema Kenya imepevuka kwa ukombozi ya Azimio. Wakenya wanalia, umebeba mzigo mzito, unasema ipunguzwe, gharama ya chakula irudi chini, unga irudi chini, maziwa irudi chini, mafuta, petroli, dizeli, sukari, karo, kodi irudi chini. Unaunga mkono? Hello? Hello? Sisi kama wanaazimio, si waende wazimu, si wajinga, lakini Wakenya wazalendo. Tunataka Kenya ikombolewe. Azimio ilitoa ahadi. Ahadi ni nini? Hata Kenya Kwisha ilitoa ahadi, lakini ahadi yao tuliambia nyinyi ni kama kunyamba kwa punda. Hello? Hello? Sisi tumesema tunataka Kenya ibadilike. Tunataka Wakenya wasiheshimiwe, waishi maisha ya heshima. Hata mtu mdogo aishi na heshima, lakini wahalifu, wauaji, wezi waende wapi? Waende wapi? Waende wapi? Sasa tumesema tunataka mabadiliko ya kikatiba. Tunataka vile vile saba ifunguliwe. Mnakubaliana na sisi? Wale makomishona wengine warudishwe kazi. Sawa? Lakini sasa wale jamaa wanasema wanaazimio ati ni anarchist. Sisi tunataka kuharibu mali ya watu. Hapana. Wanatumia sisi polisi kurusha tear gas, lakini sisi hatujali. Hatujali. Hatuwezi kutishwa. Hatuwezi kutishwa. Vijana, mko tayari? Mko tayari? Tumesema Kenya imepevuka kwa ukombozi ya Azimio. Wakenya wanalia, mbeba mzigo mzito, unasema ipunguzwe, gharama ya chakula irudi chini, unga irudi chini, maziwa irudi chini, mafuta, petroli, dizeli, sukari, karo, kodi irudi chini. Unaunga mkono? Hello? Hello? Sisi kama wanaazimio, si waende wazimu, si wajinga, lakini Wakenya wazalendo. Tunataka Kenya ikombolewe. Azimio ilitoa ahadi. Ahadi ni nini? Hata Kenya Kwisha ilitoa ahadi, lakini ahadi yao tuliambia nyinyi ni kama kunyamba kwa punda. Hello? Hello? Sisi tumesema tunataka Kenya ibadilike. Tunataka Wakenya wasiheshimiwe, waishi maisha ya heshima. Hata mtu mdogo aishi na heshima. Lakini wahalifu, wauaji, wezi waende wapi? Waende wapi? Waende wapi? Sasa tumesema tunataka mabadiliko ya kikatiba. Tunataka vile vile saba ifunguliwe. Mnakubaliana na sisi? Wale makomishona wengine warudishwe kazi. Sawa? Lakini sasa wale jamaa wanasema wanaazimio ati ni anarchist. Sisi tunataka kuharibu mali ya watu. Hapana. Wanatumia sisi polisi kurusha tear gas. Lakini sisi hatujali. Hatujali. Hatuwezi kutishwa. Hatuwezi kutishwa. Vijana mko tayari? Mko tayari? Tulikuwa tumewaambia, tuliwaimbia wao, nipigwe teke sitarudi nyuma, nipigwe teke, nitupie tear gas, nitupie tear gas, nitupie maji, nitupie maji, nipigwe pingu, nipigwe pingu, niwekwe jela, niwekwe jela, hata RUTO apinge, hata RUTO apinge, hata RUTO apinge, sisa tutarudi nyuma, hata RUTO apinge, hata RUTO apinge, hata RUTO apinge, sisa tutarudi nyuma. Azimio! Tuko pale, mama mkombozi Martha Wangari Karua, Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, tuko pale na bwana Eugene Wamalwa, bwana Ambassador Oparanya, bwana Jeremiah Kioni, tuko pale vilevile na Profesa Wajakoya. Tuko hapo Senator Moses Kajwang', Senator Edwin Sifuna, jirani yenu pale bwana Babu Owino, Senator Eddie Muk, mjumbe kutoka kule Mbita, Mama Mili Mabona, tuko pale na Mama Lilian Gogo, tuko kule na Mheshimiwa Opiya Wandayi, tuko kule na Mheshimiwa Education nimesema. Sawa sawa, wajumbe chungu mzima. Sawa sawa, tunaelekea sasa huko mbele. Asante, asanteni sana.
Aya, vijana ria, vijana ra, vijana tilim. Leo ni leo, asemaye kesho ni leo, ni leo, asemaye kesho ni Ruto wapi? Ruto wapi? Ruto wapi? Asanteni.
niko na chini kama hujui kudani. Toa kofiana, niko na kulia pa, tanguza kiharaka, nitoe kichasho. Moonlight tunakajua na pango ya kando. Ndo kifunga mitano matano. Mami ngoko, mami sikoko, kakuni njoki tunachana na koko. Ongeza flow na dogi tumepanda, alisema ni faste but hiyo ni uongo. Sikia naidi huyu demu mwitu, situ niliacha chuma ni pepi pitu. Ndani ya siku iko na jitu, please tu nimemada hariwa shukitu. Mamia, mia, 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 mamia, 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 mia, 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 mia. Sasa inagonga wasi ni kumoto, mamia, mia, 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 mia. DJ Spider-Man. Niko njaa siwezi karanga. Uwe hai. Sitasimama. Niko njaa siwezi karanga. Uwe hai. Shagala bagala. Niko tayari kulipa gharama, sitasimama maovu ya kitawala, sitasimama maovu ya kitawala. Ufisadi, ubinafsi, ukabila, ndugu za sura wataki kuuza sera. Undugu ni kufaana. DJ Spider-Man. G. Check, 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 check. Wananchi wapendwa, tunaendelea na msafara wetu. Ninaomba tuendelee kama tulivyoanza. Huu ni msafara wa Azimio ukiongozwa na kinara wetu mpendwa Raila Amolo Odinga. Tulianza kwa amani, tunaendelea kwa amani na tutamaliza kwa amani. Na niombe maafisa wa usalama wa posti hiyo, tafadhali usipige tear gas wala usipige risasi. Wachana na hawa wananchi, wanaelewa katiba. Na sisi tuendelee kuwa watulivu vile tulikuwa tangu hapo mwanzo. Tuendelee na msafara wetu kwa amani. Asanteni sana.
Tumesema Kenya imepevuka kwa ukombozi ya Azimio. Wakenya wanalia, umebeba mzigo mzito. Unasema ipunguzwe, gharama ya chakula irudi chini, unga irudi chini, maziwa irudi chini, mafuta, petroli, dizeli, sukari, karo, kodi irudi chini. Unaunga mkono? Hello? Hello? Sisi kama wanaazimio si waende wazimu, si wajinga, lakini Wakenya wazalendo. Tunataka Kenya ikombolewe. Azimio ilitoa ahadi. Ahadi ni nini? Hata Kenya kwisha ilitoa ahadi, lakini ahadi yao tuliambia nyinyi ni kama kunyamba kwa punda. Hello? Hello? Sisi tumesema tunataka Kenya ibadilike. Tunataka Wakenya wasiheshimiwe, waishi maisha ya heshima. Hata mtu mdogo aishi na heshima. Lakini wahalifu, wauaji, wezi waende wapi? Waende wapi? Waende wapi? Sasa tumesema tunataka mabadiliko ya kikatiba. Tunataka vile vile saba ifunguliwe. Mnakubaliana na sisi? Wale makomishona wengine warudishwe kazi. Sawa? Lakini sasa wale jamaa wanasema wana Azimio ati ni anarchist. Sisi tunataka kuharibu mali ya watu. Hapana. Wanatumia sisi polisi kurusha tear gas. Lakini sisi hatujali. Hatujali. Hatuwezi kutishwa. Hatuwezi kutishwa. Vijana mko tayari? Mko tayari? Tulikuwa tumewaambia, tuliwaimbia wao, nipigwe teke sitarudi nyuma, nipigwe teke, nitupie tear gas, nitupie tear gas, nitupie maji, nitupie maji, nipigwe pingu, nipigwe pingu, niwekwe jela, niwekwe jela, hata Ruto apinge, hata Ruto apinge, hata Ruto apinge, sisa tutarudi nyuma, hata Ruto apinge, hata Ruto apinge, hata Ruto apinge, sisa tutarudi nyuma. Azimio! Tuko pale, mama mkombozi Martha Wangari Karua, Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, tuko pale na bwana Eugene Wamalwa, bwana Ambassador Oparanya, bwana Jeremiah Kioni, tuko pale vilevile na Profesa Wajakoya. Tuko hapo Senator Moses Kajwang', Senator Edwin Sifuna, jirani yenu pale, bwana Babu Owino, Senator Eddie Mok, mjumbe kutoka kule Mbita, mama Mili Mabona, tuko pale na mama Lilian Gogo, tuko kule na mheshimiwa Opia Wandai, tuko kule na mheshimiwa education nimesema. Sawa sawa, wajumbe chungu mzima. Sawa sawa, tunaelekea sasa huko mbele. Asante, asanteni sana.
Aya, vijana ria, vijana ra, vijana tilim. Leo ni leo, asemaye kesho ni leo, ni leo, asemaye kesho ni Ruto wapi? Ruto wapi? Ruto wapi? Asanteni.
nani? Na wazee mnataka nani? Akiwa mama mnataka nani? Kila kona mnataka nani? Kuna kulia pa, tanguza kiharaka, natoe kijasho. Moonlight wakajua na pango ya pande. Ndo kifunga mitano matano. Mami ngoko, mami sikoko. Kakune njoki tunachana na koko. Ongeza flow na dogi tumekonja. Alisema ni faste but you ni uongo. Sikia ndege huyu demu ni mpusi. Tuni yache tuni baby pili. Itu, ani ya siku iko na jitu. Please tu nime mada hariwa shukitu. Mamia, mia, 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 mia. Mamia, mamia, mamia. Mamia, mia, 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 mia. DJ Spider-Man. Niko njaa hata siwezi karanga. Uwe hai. Sitasimama. Niko njaa hata siwezi karanga. Uwe hai. Shagala bagala. Niko tayari kulipa gharama. Sitasimama maovu ya kitawala. Sitasimama maovu ya kitawala. Ufisadi, ubinafsi, ukabila, ndugu za sura watakikuza sera. Undugu ni kufaana. mikono juu, mikono juu. Baba.